Hi YouTube, this is Cypher and welcome to this next video in my series in which I'm looking at my guitar lessons with Michael. This is lesson 9, which was done on the 27th of November. So 2019 is really starting to disappear. We're on day 134 and I'm roughly 31 hours of practice into this project. At the beginning of the lesson, we reviewed the chords that I was working on previously. I'm not going to go through all of those again, but we've added to those chords with the C, the E minor and the D. Now, the first of those that I'm going to try here is the C chord, and this one is quite a stretch, and it is one that I'm constantly catching strings. You can see I was catching the high E string. So this particular chord is made up of your first finger in the first fret of the second string. We then need to stretch across to the second fret and the fourth string. And then with our ring finger, or a third finger, we need to stretch that right the way across to the third fret on the fifth string, so that's the A string. So we're actually covering 3 frets on this particular chord. And I find that I do have to move my thumb on the back of the neck to be able to reach across. And I also find that I need to play each string to make sure that they are in the right place and I'm getting that clean chord. And we are playing the 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd and 1st string. And you can hear there straight away I've got 3 strings that are not ringing clearly. So I need to adjust my fingers. My middle finger was too far over the fret and my ring finger was not in a good position. And I tend to find as well on this particular chord that my fingers are at a slant. I find that's the best way that I can get there. So almost there. So at the moment for that chord, it is a bit of a stretch. What I am doing is I'm working more on my finger stretching exercises whilst I'm watching television and during downtime, just to try and get that stretch. So we put the fingers back down. Check that we've got a clean chord. We actually had a clean chord there. And then strum that 6 times. And I do that for a minute. So I'll strum that 6 times, take my fingers off, pop them back down, make sure that I've got a clean chord. I haven't, so just adjust my fingers. Almost. And once we've got that clean chord, strum that for 6 times, take our fingers off, back on again, and as you can tell I'm struggling with this one a little bit. I'm actually recording this on Saturday morning as usual, with the lesson being on Wednesday. So I have been practicing for a few days, but that one is quite a stretch. The second chord that we will move on to is the E minor chord. Slightly easier this one. We're going to move our second and third finger, the 2 fingers that we're going to use. So we put our second finger in the second fret of the 5th string and our third or our ring finger in the second fret on the 4th string. So they're both in the same fret on 5 and 4. And again, remember, we've got to move our middle finger back slightly to make room to get both fingers in. So we might need to press slightly heavier. Now this is an E minor chord, which means we're now playing all of the strings. Not a stretch on this one, so I am finding this one a little bit easier. Lift our fingers off, back on. Strum that out a few times, off and back on. And it's basically doing that for about a minute. We then move to the D chord, which is the chord that I really struggled with when I was learning on the internet. And that chord, I start off by putting my first finger in the 2nd fret on the 3rd string. My middle finger goes on the 2nd fret of the 1st string, and then my ring finger or my 3rd finger will come across onto the 2nd string in the 3rd fret. So we're playing across 2 frets here, but the spacing is quite nice. The only thing that I find when I'm playing this chord is my middle finger that's playing string number 1, the high E. I really have to get that bent over so that I can play that quite nicely, and I'm almost on top of my nail when I'm playing that chord. And then we are playing the 4th, 3rd, 2nd and 1st string, and you can see there that that wasn't quite ringing out properly, so we'll just adjust our fingers. So that's our D chord. Play it for 6 times. Fingers off, fingers back on. Check that we've got good placement. Strum for 6, off, back on. Amazing what a few days of practice can do, because on Wednesday I was really struggling with these 2 chords, both the C and the D. The D is coming now, it's a lot better than it was. The C chord still is a bit of a problem for me. And we'll just have to continue to work on that over the next couple of weeks before the next lesson. So again, just take your fingers off, put them back on, get a clean chord. And then, once we've got our clean chords and we're playing those for a minute, as in the previous lesson, we'll then do a minute of clean chords and then a minute of changes. And the changes, I'm going to be honest with you, are awful for me because I'm still struggling to get my fingers in the right position. So we'll go for the C to the E and then to the D. And ideally it should be C, E, D. C, E, D. I can't do it that fast. Not a hope. But I'm not worrying about speed. I'm trying to get clean chords so that they sound reasonable. And if I only strum you know, 8 or 9 in a minute. I really don't care, because with Michael's help, for the first time in the longest time, I'm actually strumming these chords cleanly. That's that D that I really struggle with, that made me, it didn't make me, but I struggled with it so much I gave up. Now, with a little bit of practice and having a professional watching how I was playing it and picking up on bad habits such as posture and hand position and thumb on the back, I'm now able to get my fingers in a much better position with his help. And they're not ideal, but we are getting there. So this lesson started pretty much the same as before with the scale. We didn't actually do any of the riffs this time. We did review the single finger chords, which were okay. I was getting on okay with those. We then reviewed the chords that I did last lesson and then added into the mix the C, E minor and the D. And it is those 4 chords that I'm going to be practicing over the next couple of weeks as we build into doing some strumming and maybe getting into some strumming patterns and maybe some blues and that type of thing. So we're going to be moving away from these simple exercises to hopefully doing some songs, which will be quite fun. So as before, I will link to the chord diagrams in the description below. If you like this video, and I hope you do, please comment, subscribe. Let me know that these videos are worthwhile. I like them because I can look back and see how completely rubbish I was compared to how I am now, and I can see that some days down the track and after a number of hours of practice, things are getting better, and it's nice to have that little look back. So I'm going to continue to do them, but it is nice to hear from people. So please comment, please subscribe, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks' time for the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.